Hi everyone, so welcome to geometry. So today's class is going to be about central angles and their arcs. Okay, so what is a central angle? I know you're wondering. Well, a central angle is just exactly what it says. It's an angle whose vertex is the center of the circle. So right here we know that we can call this circle O, right? Circle O, because that dot is in the middle, indicating that O is the center. So this angle that's created with that center and these two radiuses is what we call a central angle. Now, where that circle hits the circle itself, where that angle hits the circle itself is called the arc. So this right here is called an arc of a circle, okay? An arc of a circle. And there are two types of arcs, a minor arc and a major arc. Well, a minor arc is a part of a circle, is an arc that is less than 180 degrees. Now, let's just remember that a circle, if you go one time around a circle, you have traveled 360 degrees. So a circle has a rotation of 360 degrees. A minor arc has to be less than 180. Now, the good thing about a minor arc is that if I'm talking about a minor arc, I'm going to use two letters, the endpoints of the arc. So A and B would be the endpoints. And then I'm going to use the symbol to indicate arc, and it's this little arc right on top of it. So that would be arc AB. All right, and then a major arc, let's pretend I put another letter on the circle, a C. A major arc would be three letters. And you again start at the endpoints, but the middle point has to be that other point on the circle. So it would be arc ACB, and that would be a major arc, okay? Now the one thing I want to also make sure that you understand is the term semicircle. Semicircle. If I make a semicircle, here, let me make one for you. If I make a semicircle, here's a circle. The semicircle is, and this is the center, this is actually the semicircle, the part of the circle that is exactly 180 degrees. So this is a diameter which cuts a circle into two semicircles. Okay? Now for a semicircle, we would again think of it like a major arc. So if I said ABC, we would say arc ABC. So we would use three letters. All right, so let's look at a circle. So here is a central angle of a circle. It's 60 degrees. And what you may notice is that the arc that it creates is also 60 degrees. That's called arc measure. And there is a theorem called the central angle theorem. Okay, so the central angle theorem. And the central angle theorem says that the measure of a central angle is equal to the measure of the arc. All right, so it's important to note that what we're talking about here, though, is measure, 60 degrees. That arc is a 60 degree, it's like rotating 60 degrees. Now, there is a difference between arc length. Arcs can have length. We're going to talk about that later. But right now, we're just talking about its measure. So if I wanted to say, find the measure of arc AB, I put a little m in front of it. And that means that I want my answer to be in degrees. So in this case, the measure of arc AB would be 60 degrees. All right, so again, central angle equals its arc. So let's look at some examples. So on the next page, you'll see example 1. Find the measures of each arc of circle R. So the first one we're looking at is arc MN. Okay, so I'm looking for the measure of this arc. So I see that this point right here is the center. I see that this is 100 degrees. So therefore, the arc would be 100 degrees. Okay, now my direction said that NP is a diameter. So that means it cuts it into two semicircles. So that tells me that this whole arc is a semicircle, so it's 180 degrees. So that tells me that this arc MP, or PM right here, this arc, would have to be 80 degrees. So arc PM, which is D, would be 80 degrees. All right, so those are my two minor arcs. Then it asks me for arc MPN. All right, so how do I find that? Well, you start at M, you go towards P, all the way around to N. So we know that this part, the part that I have in green, is a semicircle, so it's 180 degrees. And we know this part is 80, so 180 plus 80 is going to give me 260. So 260 degrees is the measure of MPN. All right, and then PMN is the opposite direction. I start at P, I go to M, I go all the way over to N. I notice that's the semicircle, so that would be, arc PM would be 180 degrees. All right, and the reason there's not a little M in front of it, because it says find the measures. So I don't have to, it would be redundant to put that. All right, let's look at one more example. It says find the measure of the arcs. Okay, so I know that this is 40 degrees, and this is 110 degrees, and it's asking me for arc GE. So that means from G all the way to E. So all I do is add 40 plus 110. Because if the central angle is 40, then the arc is 40, and so that would give me 150 degrees. GEF, so G towards E, all the way to F. That's a major arc because it came bigger than 180. And again, if this angle is 80 degrees, this arc is 80 degrees, so I'm going to add 110 plus 80 plus 40, which is 150 plus 80, so 230 degrees. All right, a couple more. GF. G to F means I'm looking at G over here, and it's a minor arc, which means it has to be smaller than 180, so it has to be this direction. A little harder. I have to find this angle. How do I find this angle? Well, I know all the way around is 360, so I'm going to do 360 minus all those other angles we already added. We were 230, so I'm going to subtract 230 from it, and I'll get 130 degrees. Okay, last one. I'm going to have to do something with all of that. FHE. So FHE is from F towards H all the way around to E. It's a major arc. So you have two options. I see that what's left is 80. So I could do 360 degrees minus 80, which would give me 280 degrees. That's an easy way of doing it. Or I could add 130 plus 40 plus 110, which would also give me 280. All right, so that's it for today, guys. All you need to really remember is the central angle is equal to its arc, the measure of its arc. You have to remember that. You have to remember to look for semicircles because those arcs are 180 degrees. All right, have a great night.